This video is going to cover our generative AI use policy for Unit 1, especially the big things, the things where AI is not allowed in Unit 1 and the things where it may be helpful. I've tried to go through this syllabus and the schedule and just kind of pull out some key areas where I think you may be wondering, can I use AI here? So first, just keep in mind that there is this language in the syllabus that each unit has a generative AI use in unit number video. It's the video you're watching right now. It's going to cover the rules for AI use. When I say AI, I mean all of the big ones, all of the little ones, ChatGPT, Copilot, Grammarly is an AI, Bard, Perplexity. If it generates content for you, then it's the AI I'm talking about. So I might specifically just say ChatGPT because that's my go-to, but I mean anything similar, right? So all of these units that we're working on have different goals, and sometimes to show understanding, AI is going to be banned. Sometimes to show understanding the content that we're working with, it can be shown that you understand it using AI or not using AI. So there are the ways in which we define ethical AI use throughout the course are going to change, and I'm going to try and reinforce at various moments with some language, some responses, and some image indicators of where you are or are not allowed to use AI, and then explain that in more detail if I need to. So make sure you're always watching these videos at the beginning of each unit. We'll have 4 in our semester. And then in the syllabus, again, it also says any assignment submitted that appears to violate the generative AI policy will receive a temporary 0 until you've corrected or until you've talked to me. I mean, I am open to all conversations about your AI use. If you're using AI in a way that's perfectly ethical and doesn't bypass the learning for the assignment or the unit that we're working on, but I'm getting AI vibes, I might just mark it as 0 and say, hey, this looks AI generated and you weren't allowed to do that. And then if you want to have a conversation with me about your use, maybe it was, oh, it's a Grammarly mistake, but all the writing was yours. We can have that conversation. Or if you correct it, if I give you 0 for AI generation and you correct it before the final deadline, then I can go back and update your grade. If it turns into a permanent 0, then I will follow through with all of Mitchell's academic honesty policy, and that includes filing a formal report to the college, just so that the college has a record of unethical AI use in case it becomes an issue in your academic time here. The college wants to know that. Okay, and I don't want to scare you. It's likely not to happen. I think that, I really like talking about AI. I use AI in my personal life. I use it to assist myself when I am working. I make it a policy to never use it for feedback purposes. That feels inherently my job to give you feedback. But I do use it to come up with some examples or to brainstorm ideas and various things. And if you're ever curious about how I'm using AI, you can always ask me. I'm happy to talk about it. All right, so in our first unit, you are going to see a lot of these things called quote free writes, and you'll see a lot of reflections or reflective style writing. I want you to avoid any AI on these. I want you to, even if you don't even know where to begin, try to brainstorm all of that on your own. If you can't, then you can ask ChatGPT to give you some prompts to respond to the quote. So, for example, let's say you're looking at like the one this week that is the quote from the Killers song, and it says, "I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier," and you're just sitting there and you're thinking, and you're like, I don't even know how to begin writing about this quote. Like, I don't even know what to even say. You could ask ChatGPT, my teacher gave me this quote. Could you give me some prompts that might help me free write about this? Just asking it for a place to start. That's okay. But never ask it to do the free write for you, because the whole point of these free writes is just to give you some space to write some stuff down so that we can then go in and analyze what is your writing voice. We can't analyze the writing voice of ChatGPT, because the writing voice of ChatGPT, even if you ask it to write in a particular voice, is built through a computer algorithm that is not the way that our brains are working. It's not the way that your brain works. You have a unique writing voice that is specific to you. You are not an algorithm. So there's really no way that ChatGPT can present your voice. Now, you can understand your voice so that later on in your career, later on in your life, when you are allowed to, you can ask ChatGPT to write with this particular voice, and you can describe your writing voice. And that way, in your future, if you're using AI and you're generating, whatever content, you want it to sound like you know how you sound, but that is ultimately our goal, is to figure out how do we sound when we're writing so that we can develop our own voices in the future of, AI and writing, and how do we make ourselves sound how do we make our writing sound like ourselves when we're also doing all the things that AI can do, like make our content generation quicker when that's what we need, right? How do we send a work email that says the things we want to say the way that we want to say it and do that quickly? Well, great, we can use AI, but we still kind of want to sound like ourselves. Okay, so quote free writes, reflections in this unit. AI is blocked unless you are just needing to figure out like what kind of prompt to respond to in order to reflect on the quote. Most of the time I'll have already prompted you on things. I'll give you some backups so that you shouldn't even need to go to ChatGPT. But if you do, again, it shouldn't write the content for you. It maybe can just ask you some additional questions, some food for thought. Ultimately, it's about voice and not content, and we've pretty much talked about all that stuff. So the other thing you'll see a lot of in this unit, sentence personalizations. You're writing one sentence on these. Maybe you personally write like 3 sentences when it could have just been a sentence. So okay, maybe you're writing 3 sentences, but you really just don't need it. I mean, you don't need to use ChatGPT to write one sentence. We're just trying to work on how to take something that's boring and bland and in short form turn it into something that sounds like how we would say it, just these really short form practices. So again, you don't need ChatGPT for this, so don't use it for that either. Tutoring, I was trying to think of something positive here. I don't want to be like AI is completely banned, never access it in this unit. If you are working through the content, like what's the difference between voice and tone and style and writing with emotions and audience and purpose and tone, if you're working on that stuff in this unit and you're having trouble understanding it, if you need some additional examples, some additional explanation, if you read easier in a different language and you need content translated, those kinds of tutoring style of uses for AI, of course, are allowed, as long as you're not just wrote copying and pasting the responses that ChatGPT might give you and submitting that in any kind of way, then some sort of tutoring service sounds like it'd probably be appropriate for this unit if you need it. Of course, if you have questions as you're working through the content, please always know that I'm here. I can help you. But otherwise, for the most part, in Unit 1, I'd like you to stay away from using any kind of AI generated content. And in many cases, I won't give you a grade if I suspect that AI content is present in your submission, but I will try to talk to you about it before that 0 turns permanent. So if you have any questions about this, just send me an email.